Thank you, Susan, for that introduction, and I appreciate you all coming here, fellow Toastmasters, fellow guests. Today, I'm going to talk about my first DTM project, Communicate to Succeed. It's my first speech. So it's the plan is to show you what I'm going to do and the vision of how I'm going to do it. And the second speech, which is going to be done later, I will communicate that later. There you go. My project is the DTM project, Speechcraft, Communicate to Succeed. Oops, there. Now, before I get started, I want to tell you a quote that I heard from a business advisor. He said, communication is the glue that binds us all together. But you have to use the right kind of glue for each situation, or it might not stick. So that kind of hit me in the right places, because I know when I was young, I would just talk and talk, and then the other person, the person who I was communicating with, couldn't even understand what I was saying. And then my friend of mine would say, well, you need to slow down. You need to express your thoughts clearly. So I'm going to do that today. So the overview of the DTM project and pathways is, I'm going to give you an overview. And now that DTM project is one of many requirements to become a distinguished Toastmaster. And when they say one of many, you have to complete 2 learning paths, serve as a club officer, complete 1-year term as a district leader, and successfully serve as a club mentor or coach, be a club sponsor, and complete your DTM project. It is a lot, but I'm sure everyone can do it. Now, after completing 1 full path and level 3 in the second, you can write to TI to enable access to your DTM project, which will give you access to the learning materials. Now, my objective is to plan and complete a project that benefits an organization or a club. Now, our club is to communicate to succeed. Now, in order to do this, we have to form a team. We have to execute the project to accomplish this objective, right? You can't do this by yourself. I mean, it takes execution. It takes many people to do this. So now for the DTM project, I'll have to deliver 2 speeches. First speech, which I'm doing today, is to introduce the plan and vision. And the second speech is to share the aspects of the experience completing the project, and also give feedback from team members. Now, you're asking, what is Speechcraft? Well, Speechcraft is an intensive public speaking course. It's 4 to 8 weeks. Now, it could be 4, it could be 8 weeks. And it shows the fundamentals of public speaking, the communication, and leading meetings to non-Toastmasters, okay, or to new Toastmasters. Now, it teaches basic skills: speaking, listening, evaluating, along with fundamentals on how to run a meeting. Now, this isn't exactly a Toastmasters kind of thing. It's more of how can we use these skills in everyday life, right? You're at a meeting. How do you professionally present yourself? How do you get your communication clear, right? How do you get your point out, right? So this is excellent. I think if I'd known about this a long time ago, I would attend Speechcraft meetings all the time to get me started. Now, the Speechcraft course prepares participants for increased and broadened responsibilities in their workplace and community. Now, so businesses and organizations can seek and promote individuals with good communication and organization skills. Now, the plan is to have 4 weeks. The first week, we're going to have effective speech crafting by Stephen. And this is going to get us started on how to craft a speech and how to deliver it too. The second week is empathetic feedback by Abhijit. Now, when you're getting feedback, you have to give a good evaluation so that the person who's giving the speech will come back and improve. Now imagine your evaluations like, oh, you suck. It's like, oh, try it again. You'd never go back, right? So giving an empathetic feedback is very critical. And the third week, impromptu speaking. All right. Who's the professional at impromptu speaking? I'm not. Unless I have like 4 cups of coffee, I'm just babbling up. But so I think impromptu speaking is very critical, because when just imagine you're at a social event at your company. You got to fire off questions. You got to know about current events. It's very critical. And then last but not least, body language. I mean, what if you're speaking like this, right? It's like, oh yeah, how's that turn, right? Or like, hey, how you doing today? Let's go get some, coffee this evening, get some energy in there. So body language and vocal variety is very critical too. Now here's the agenda for the first week. So I'm going to go through it real quickly. You can introduce myself, and this is what we're going to do. Is going to have the educational person speak, and then after 5 minutes, and then we're going to go on breakout rooms, and then we're going to do some evaluation at the end. Now here's a strategy for the project plan. Name the project, which I have. List the attendance, which I have. Speech coordinators, mentors. We're going to have speakers. We're going to record this, get the milestones out. And like I said, we can't do this alone. So we're going to delegate responsibilities to our coordinators. And we're going to jot down milestones, timelines, and share our plan with each person. And very importantly, hold a review meeting at the end. Almost like a post-mortem, which is going to be very critical. And then for completing it, debrief the team, a lesson learned, and then feedback from participants. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ashwin, for that presentation. I think you're going to do a great job, and we just look forward to you hearing about your ultimate success as a DTM. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to continue with the theme for the evening, habitually speaking. When I asked the question, what do you want to be, or whom do you want to be? The reason I asked that question is because in his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear articulates, he says that our goals, whether they be losing weight or being healthier and things of that nature, they are what he calls outcome-based. And those are good goals to have, laudable goals to have. But he says that there is a deeper reason to develop habits. And that deeper reason is connected to your identity. Whom do you want to be? For example, if your goal, like mine, was to finish War and Peace finally after several starts and stops over previous years, I did it because I've always loved reading, and I wanted to see myself as a reader outside of college. It had been several years since I had been to college, and I wanted to do something that challenged me intellectually. I wanted to see myself again as a 60-some-odd-year-old person, if I could still have the energy to do the amount of reading that I was required to do in college. That was one of the things I wanted to challenge myself on. And what enabled me to do it is that I had to make it manageable. War and Peace is a huge, and I mean huge, novel. Depending on the translation that you're reading, it could be well over 1,300 pages. For me, the version that I read is about 1,200 and some change. That's not something that you could do in a weekend. So I had to make it manageable. And what I did is I took a legal pad and I broke the book down into chapters. It has 4 volumes, and then it's broken down into parts, and each part has a certain number of chapters. So there's a lot of breaking down to do. And so I did that, and I think it took me almost 15 pages of legal pad front and back to fully break the book down. And so what I did is I put the dates after putting down each chapter. I put the date that I started to read each chapter, and I checked off when I finished a chapter, and kept checking off and checking off and checking off little victories that Clear talks about. It's the little victories that are the results of consistently applied habits, to the point where I was able to continue to just build and build and build on what I had already started to do. And that's something that everybody can do. Whatever the project is that you have, if it's a large project, you want to be able to break it down into manageable parts, easily accomplishable goals, and things that can be done every day. You want to be able to track your progress as well. And as I say, that's something that I'm sure that most of you have faced in one area or another of your lives. So I have no doubt that anybody within the sound of my voice is able to do a similar thing, whatever your project happens to be. You're able to break it down, you're able to make it manageable, so that whatever your goal is, you can accomplish that goal and be the person who you want to be, and have that be the reason for your goal in the first place. I'll end my theme by once again really recommending that, if at all possible, please pick up a copy of the book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. You will be glad you did. Thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to introduce our table topics master of the evening, and that's Madam Grace. Grace, welcome.
Thank you, Toastmasters Jim. Now today, in conjunction with our theme today, our table topics will be under habits. So let me ask you, who will be the first one whom I can grill for this impromptu speech? Diana is raising her hand. So Diana, I'll ask you a question and I'll read your answer later. Okay. What are some habits? What are the 3 habits that you like doing on a day-to-day basis? What are the 3 habits that you like on a day-to-day basis? I'm going to read and go back to your answer later. Thank you. And now let me ask people here in the meeting, other people in the meeting who would like to be grilled. Otherwise, I can start at, oh, Piyush is there. Piyush, what are the 3 habits that you would like to eliminate? What are the 3 habits that bad habits that you like to eliminate?
Thank you, Toastmaster Grace. Actually, starting this year, I am trying to not be very particular about my resolutions or what I want to achieve, but trying to make it on the go, because having a plan and not having met that plan gives me a bit of a disappointment. But 1 month down this year, I'm kind of regretting not having a plan or not having resolutions. I guess the habit of not committing to a resolution, maybe that's one I would like to eliminate. I'm not really sure. I haven't really thought about it since I was in this year trying to be kind of on the go. I wasn't actively thinking about my habits. But I guess another thing I could say is I haven't been paying attention. I would say I've been very diligent in joining these meetings and trying to take a role to improve my communication skills, but I think I could do more and I haven't been doing it. So I guess along the lines of strong commitment, I should start setting up goals like practicing online on the Toastmaster website, trying to reduce my etc. I haven't been doing that. So maybe kind of start having a more stronger milestone. Third thing that I would like to eliminate is dress whatever I lay my hands to. Like I haven't been thinking about kind of a dress code or a color combination. I would just find, I mean, for sure it has to be neat and clean, but I'll find anything, any combination, I'll just run out and my wife would complain. So maybe stop the habit of not putting a collection of clothes. So those are my 3 things I came up with it pretty on the spot. So if it didn't make sense, apology for that. Back to you, Toastmaster Chris.
Thank you, Toastmaster Piyush, for sharing those 3 bad habits, habits that you would like to improve on. Next question would be, who would like to? Diana, I will read your answer later. Jones, do you want? Oh, Ashwin. Ashwin, what one habit do you think that will make one successful in life? What one habit do you think would help one to be successful in life?
One habit is what Jim said, get that book. 1% at a time. I like reading books to audios, and I would just look at the book and I would look at it and say, oh my God, how am I going to complete this? So a habit that would help is break it down little chunks at a time, 1% at a time, every day, maybe 10 pages a day. And you know what? I tried that. I tried to read 10 pages a day of this book, and little did I know, I was almost done with the book and I didn't even think about it. So we could accomplish a lot if we change our habits or even our thinking on how we approach things, right? So I would say break it down into little bits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin. Next person. Jones, do you like to try?
Race, I can give it a try.
Okay. And then after that, I see Kathleen raising her hand. Okay. What is something that you should do every day, but you don't? What is something that you should do every day, but you don't?
Thank you very much, Table Topic Master. What an interesting topic. They say we are made of habits. I am because of the decisions that I make every day. In the past, I used to wake up with no plan. I used to sleep late and get up late. One day I asked myself, what is the purpose of my life? Clearly, it took me to read a lot of books That's why when Toastmaster Jim Tenson talks about reading, it really sank in my head that there are some habits that I need to develop and do every day. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, what I'm saying is the way I take a glass of water, perhaps 2 liters per day, that speaks to my health. I should also take my mental health seriously. Mind, soul, body as well. Whenever I set a goal that I should be reading every day. Quite all right. That's why I'm not a proponent of resolutions. Sometimes we make resolutions in January, but come March, we desert them. It takes discipline. I'm simply saying it. I would like to be a daily reader. I'm grabbing this book by James Clear on atomic habits. If I can eat food every day, why shouldn't I read every day? I am making a decision to start reading every day, at least for 30 minutes. I'm sure that's gonna change and reshape my life. Over to you, Table Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Jones. I'll have one more question for table topics, and then I will read Diana's answer. Okay? Okay. Catherine. Toastmaster Catherine, what one good habit that you are proud of? What is one good habit that you are proud of? Table topic. Toastmaster Catherine, sorry.
Ever since I was a young girl, I was plump, tall, beautiful, and what you would call prettiest of giants. I walked into the kindergarten, and every child I was towering over. By the time I got to my teenage or puberty stage, I was still the prettiest of giants. So I quickly learned that in order to manage my body, I need to treat the prettiest of giants well. I began to walk and jog and do sports. I was always the last, but I made it. I finished the race. I finished the exercise. I completed every milestone. When I got to the university, I was no longer just the prettiest of giants, but I was the prettiest of slenders. And I learned that if I'm gonna take care of this beautiful, tall body, I have to put in the effort to exercise and be consistent. Toastmasters and guests, I am proud to say that in the last 2 years, I have been consistent at exercising to treat the prettiest of giants with grace. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Catherine. That really engages me to start doing my exercise too. Let me read Toastmaster Diana's answer for my question earlier. I feel happy inside that meeting group with my speech as better, and I use a typing app on that chat box with improved speech. With that, I think that I can put back the gavel to our Toastmasters of the day, Toastmaster Jim.
Thank you so much for that table topic segment. It's always a fun and informative one. Thank you. Now we come to the evaluation portion of our evening, and we will hear from our first evaluator, Piyush, who will evaluate our first speaker of the evening. Piyush, if you would.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jim. As I mentioned earlier, I had evaluated Toastmaster Catherine in past as well. And whenever she speaks, it's so perfect. And her speech is music to my ears. Every word she utters, it's very clearly understood. And there are good pauses between sentences and a variety of gestures I have observed. Like when she is saying, she's speaking with her eyes. Sometimes her eyes lit up. It broadens, like it shows what she's trying to say. When she's saying, I had problem listening at one point in time, and she's pointing to her ears. So there's a very good body language and what she's saying that makes the speech really easy to grasp and understand. So it's really hard for me to find improvement areas, but it's full of praises, I would say. Her speech has a great amount of structure. So she started with a disclaimer, like I have some issues and I cannot stand. Maybe Toastmaster Catherine, maybe you're trying to practice your gesture or trying to, maybe as a part of your speech, maybe some more body movement. It wasn't very clear. So maybe that's being a nitpicky, little bit of improvement, like you could clarify what you were planning to do in your speech, maybe work on some more body language. And that's why today you couldn't do, and that's why you're sitting and delivering the speech. You had very good structure in terms of what you were trying to tell. You called out that there are 3 places that you plan to visit: Scandinavia, US, and UK, and trying to understand some languages there was difficult. One other good thing about your speech was that you had pretty good hooks. Like every couple of minutes when you deliver a speech, people sometimes tend to zone out, but you had some question or something. So the first hook I figured in your speech was, can I tell you friends? So it felt like a question, as if some question would come to me. So I'm all of a sudden became attentive. And then you started telling about how it was difficult for you understanding Arabic in a particular country. Another hook I noticed was that, can I tell you who my best friends are? A Korean person. I'm like, that's another hook. So you have like pretty good structure, all the right hooks at the right places, very good vocal variety. And of course, it's your story, it's about your communication, and you also had that element in there. So I'm really sorry, I could have had some improvement areas for you, but I couldn't, except that one nitpicky thing about what you said in the beginning and why part wasn't clear. One other thing I would say to improve yourself, you could potentially use some humor. That's one element I saw a bit somewhat lacking. I think some of the speeches, people like crack 1-2-liner joke and like people start to laugh. I don't know if that was the intent, but just to challenge yourself, you could incorporate that in your speech. That's all from me. Thank you so much. And back to you, Toastmaster Jim.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very appreciated. Our second evaluator, Susan, will evaluate Ashvin's presentation. Susan?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and Ashvin. What a professional presentation. You had the mastery of a well-provided slides for the most part. They were good coloring, good visual, we could see it. I love that you were able to sneak yourself onto the screen The one caveat to that is you end up a little smaller in the screen than if we were to pin you and have you be half of the screen. So be mindful that we do lose a little of the visual. Of course, our focus was on the presentation, and it was very well organized, going from the overview through the description of the speechcraft, what it is, how the schedule is going to fly, and then reviewing the agendas. You really got specific on it. And what I really appreciate is that you also talked about the strategy of this project, not only the presentation, but what comes afterwards. The project that benefits someone or a club, and it is going to go on to feedback and lessons learned. So you really gave us the full gamut of it. I saw that you appeared to be comfortable. You were smiling. You did use gestures, and that's challenging when you're doing slides, but you had the glue that binds as a good attention getter right up front. We really got that glue that binds. And then another time when you were raising a hand, you raised your hand and we saw it. So you were capturing our attention with that. You did appear to have good eye contact, even though you were looking around at other things. So it did have you focus on us, felt like you were actually talking directly to me and the rest of the audience, which was a great plus. One of the recommendations that I would make is on one of the slides, when you were talking about the project of Speechcraft, there were a lot of words describing, or even the DTM project. Maybe do bullets. If you give us a visual of 1 or 2 words, we can see the word, then focus back on you. When you put all of the words on there and then you're reading them, we're tempted to look at you, look at the screen, look at you, stop hearing you, stop listening, because I'm busy reading the screen, and I might read at a different pace than you were speaking. You had a good pace that we could follow you, but my recommendation would be less words, bullets. Let's talk about you. You're the presentation. The slides are just an addendum for you, not the entirety. Otherwise, you could mail it in. And we don't want you to do that. You did a very good job with your vocal variety. We heard you changing your volume when you were talking about vocal variety. I heard the multiple syllables as you said the word, one of my favorites when we're trying to demonstrate it. You also were able to give us a good volume, clarity. All of your words were well chosen with one exception. You used a very casual phrase when talking about something doesn't do very well. And I'm not going to repeat it because I don't think it should have been said. It's not a professional word. Maybe in the gym with the fellows, that might be an okay word to say. But when we're professional and we're demonstrating our professionalism, we wouldn't clarify that phraseology. So try to avoid that. And I'll tell you afterwards what that was if you don't already pick up on it. But overall, you gave a very well organized, well executed, and well delivered presentation. I look forward to giving you the written evaluation with some more insights. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much for those incisive evaluations and excellent speeches. That pretty much concludes our agenda for the evening. Let's see. Yeah, we don't have a grammarian tonight. So what usually occurs.
We do have a timer for Ashvin, and we did ask Jones to fill in the counter. So we at least have those.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. Okay, Jones, if you could give your report as the counter for the evening, the substitute counter.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jim. Bring the first task in Toastmasters. I was really grappling to evaluate Toastmasters like Catherine, Ashvin, Piyush. It was exciting, and the speeches were really exciting as well. So, Toastmaster Catherine, I was really engrossed in your speech. You took us on a roller coaster, such that it was quite difficult for me to catch filler rates. You spoke with clarity. However, you only had one arm. Speaker number 2, Ashvin. Wow. You spoke with authority as well. The body language was on point. I picked 3 arms and 2 swords.
Oh,
Huge. You've got a great sense of humor, and what a confident speaker.
yes, that's true.
You really have clarity when it comes to presenting your topics. Caught off guard on table topics. However, you had 7 arms.
Oh.
Great presenters, great speakers, I must say. Very exciting. Well done, team. Back to you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Jones. Appreciate it.
Mm.
If we could hear from Ashvin, our timer for the evening tonight, for the timers report.
Thank you, Jim. And as timer today, I was helping everyone express their thoughts within a specific time. Catherine, excellent speech. Thank you. It was 6 minutes and 39 seconds.
Thank you.
And Susan, my time was 7 minutes exactly. Thank you for timing me. Cutting it close. I love that. Table topics. Piyush, 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Ash, it's like I'm talking to myself every time. It's 1 minute and 5 seconds. I like to be on the edge. Bottom or top. Jones, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Catherine, 1 minute and 50 seconds. You are banished. And for our evaluation, Piyush, was this a speech? No, it was evaluation. It's 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
Oh.
Susan, you were right there, girl. Oh, sorry, not professional. Sorry. Susan, 3 minutes and 31 seconds. Almost, but that's good. That's good. It's okay. I'll let you go this time. Jim, that is my timer's report. Back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Just one comment overall that I would like to make. The speakers were excellent. The evaluators were excellent. And I want to highlight Piyush. One of the things that you said in your evaluation that I think is very important, you said that Catherine was effective in terms of her giving hooks in all the right places. I think that was masterful to point those things out, because sometimes that can be missed in a speech and a presentation for both speaker and listener. So I'm really glad that you picked up on that. And Susan, of course, you know, you're a master evaluator and you don't miss anything. And it's always a pleasure to hear your evaluations and so forth. I just wanted to make those general comments. Great meeting, everyone. And I suppose we can sort of decide for the next meeting who wants to assume which roles.
I would suggest we stop our recording at this point,
Okay.
if we can.